Arie Hochschild is a scholar who did a significant amount of work and study related to human feelings and emotions. Throughout her life, she looks at work and life, work-life balance, gender roles, and how that affects work-life balance. In her book, The Managed Heart, she talks about selling personality and selling oneself. She refers to Marx's concept of alienation, which is a difference between true self-labor and labor for an employer. Now, Marx believed that humans were creative, empowered, and expressive, but going into the workplace and doing jobs, whether boring or exciting, when done for money, would still alienate us from our true self. Hochschild defined emotional management as the management of feeling to create a publicly observable facial and body display. What do coaches display to athletes, other coaches, or parents in a given situation? Is it always exactly how they feel? Are coaches allowed to talk to athletes and parents truly openly and honestly? What about having to cut someone from the team? Do we tell them, hey, you really suck, that's why you didn't make it? No, we phrase it in a way that's digestible and hopefully turns out in a positive experience. What if we're selling a certain persona or an attitude to a team or a coach? What emotional toll is that going to eventually take on us? What is one's private self or public self? Is there truly an authentic self? Is this something that we consciously create or something that we've been socialized to act in a certain role as a strength coach? Oftentimes, coaches are thought to have to put on a certain attitude to get athletes pumped up or make them tougher or even calm them down given the situation. But what if that's not how you act on a regular basis? How hard is this persona that one puts on to get the desired effect from athletes? Well, what if it's only how you act when you're around a certain team or sports coach because that's the behavior that they want or expect from you? And are you being then true to yourself as a person in society? And is it okay to live a different work life if it's not really who you are, or is it going to have a negative effect on you somewhere down the road? Well, let's chat with a couple young strength and conditioning coaches and see what they think. All right. Tell me about how you felt coaching last time you coached.
I felt pretty good, just coming off a surgery. So my ability to demonstrate and really be interactive with my athletes was probably at an all-time low. Uh, but yeah, no, the last time I coached, I always have a lot of fun doing it. I always feel like I'm doing a really good job and kind of helping out my athletes. So I felt like it went really well. Had to use my words a little bit more than my body. That's something I'm not necessarily used to as a coach, and I think it helped me out a ton.
So do you feel like you had to pump yourself up a little extra because of the surgery, or do you ever feel in general that you may have to turn a switch when you get into the
I
coaching?
definitely feel like I need to turn a switch because in regular life, if you will, I'm kind of a goofy, laid back person, and it's a difficult demeanor to bring into a weight room and then demand complete control and complete respect. So I definitely feel like I work on changing the tone of my voice and kind of raising that up a little bit and talking a little bit more from the belly than I would, and trying not to be so lighthearted all the time. Being an easygoing guy, sometimes I find it difficult to really bring down the hammer when I need to. So that switch, it's something that I kind of need to do.
Cool. Um, do you ever feel like you're not being yourself when you're coaching?
Sometimes, yeah. Because I would say in my personal life, I'm not a big fan of conflict, but sometimes you need to bring conflicts to a head to get things done and solved instantaneously in the weight room. Can't have people messing around, and you got other teams coming in, so you got to stay on a time schedule. So there are times I definitely don't feel like myself, a little bit more meticulous, a little bit more cutthroat, if you will. But I still, at the same time, have that same kind of personable, talkative side to me. And I like making sure that when I'm working or cueing an athlete, they have full understanding where I'm coming from. And that I do care, even though I am cold and callous at times.
How about, have you ever felt like you were expected to act a particular way as a strength and conditioning coach?
Yeah. I think that comes along with the flipping the switch. I don't think I've really met a strength coach that's been entirely lighthearted during a coaching session, and now my experience is a little bit more with college-age football and male hockey. I haven't done a lot of work with female sports, but yeah, I do feel that I'm expected to be the authority in the weight room, and I feel like that's the way that it needs to be, because at the end of the day, they need to do what they need to do that you've programmed. You put a lot of work into making sure the program is ideal to make sure these athletes are strong and injury-free, and if things aren't going in these plans, then it's not for the benefit of the athlete. So yeah, I feel like you have to bring an edge.
Tell me about how you felt the last time you were coaching on the floor.
So I felt pretty good overall. I mean, I feel comfortable when I coach. It's a comfortable role that I have. It was interesting though because I hadn't seen that team in a couple weeks, so I felt like I needed to play catch up on how everybody was doing as far as their injuries and overall well-being.
Do you feel like you have to pump yourself up at certain times or get like an outside kind of energy before you getting into group training?
So I feel like that comes really naturally to me, and that's my normal kind of energy level where because I have this dual role of coaching and also doing administration, it almost feels like I have to be somebody else and kind of reel it in when I do my administration stuff and sit in business meetings and things like that, because you have to be a little bit more prim and proper versus when you're coaching and working with a bunch of athletes.
Do you ever feel like you're not being yourself when you're coaching? Are you ever kind of stepping outside of that persona that you portray as a coach?
I don't think so, but overall, I think it's pretty easy. I'm not great at hiding like my emotions, I think. So if I'm having a bad day, it's hard for the athletes not to know that because I'm usually smiling, upbeat all the time. And then if I'm not smiling, people automatically know like something's wrong just by me not smiling. So I think that overall though, I love that role, and it's easy to kind of stay in that role.
Have you ever felt like you were expected to act a certain way as a strength and conditioning coach?
Definitely. I know that especially being a female in this industry, it's like you don't want to make them think you're a female and then a coach. You want to make them think of you as a strength and conditioning coach. And so to kind of hide your femininity is like an interesting concept that I'm kind of working on right now.
Emotional labor can be described as selling oneself for money. What's wrong with emotional labor or putting on a show if needed at work? Maybe nothing, but some of the negative effects of emotional labor can be denial of one's self-feelings, overconformity to work, meaning just wanting to act like yourself and not have to act a certain way. Stress and burnout, self-blame, anxiety, self-doubt are all negative effects that can arise. If I'm coaching and I feel this way, I can become anxious, doubt myself, and become tired of having to act a certain way, which can be a tremendous stress because it alienates you from your true self and how you really want to be seen. Interestingly, in the last clip, Coach Watts talked about feeling more like herself when she's coaching, compared to being in meetings and doing admin work, but at the end she mentions feeling like she's expected to act a certain way as a female and a strength and conditioning coach. Perhaps she's just realizing that she does have to do a bit of acting to portray a certain persona at times. And maybe it's not truly who she feels she is when she's at home with friends or family. Definitely something to evaluate within our coaching practice and look into deeper for her. Hochschild's work wasn't in coaching. There's a few criteria she thought would be good to apply to other fields that seemed to fit pretty well within strength and conditioning. First, does it require face-to-face and voice-to-voice interaction? Coaching absolutely fits this criteria. Most coaches pride themselves on their personal interactions and contact they have with their athletes. Second, does the actor, or coach in this case, try to produce an emotional state in their audience? Certainly, coaches prepare teams by getting them fired up, excited to train, focused, or even calm for performance, which is producing an emotional state. And third, the employer exercises control of the employee's emotions. Well, as a coach, we work for a team, university, etc., and are a direct representative and ambassador to set a good example. If my emotions aren't within the lines that are expected by my employer's standards, then I can certainly expect to be called out to explain my behavior. Given those three criteria, it seems that Hochschild's work can apply to the coaching profession. Are you able to recognize how you feel and what those feelings mean? If we can understand and apply terms such as emotional management and emotional labor to coaching, we're using both research and our own coaching practice to become more effective coaches by evaluating our work and how and why we do it. We also need to consider the emotional costs of coaching. Are we taking care of ourselves mentally, physically, and emotionally? I recommend that coaches consider the questions I posed earlier in this video. How do you feel coaching today? Do you have to pump yourself up or get outside energy before coaching a group? Do you ever feel like you're not being yourself when coaching? Have you ever felt that you were expected to act a certain way as a strength and conditioning coach? If you can answer these questions honestly and critique your feelings compared to your coaching practice, it can help you be more self-aware of how you feel about coaching and hopefully allow you to evaluate if you need to change or adapt your coaching practice. Hopefully, this video has informed you about how the work of Hochschild might be worth taking a deeper look at regarding strength and conditioning coaching, and to quote the good doctor himself, Dr. Brian Garrity, we can only use our sociological imaginations if we can explore the negative things in our life in hopes of trying to make them better. Thanks for watching, and good luck in your coaching.